You're listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and it's time for this week's Long Island News, the show that talks to newsmakers from Nassau and Suffolk County that matter to Long Island and Long Islanders like you. So each week, we'll have a conversation about issues that affect all of us. I live on Long Island, and I want to know more about where my tax dollars are going, just like you do. I also want to know more about the people making the big decisions that affect all of us. And today, I'm very happy to welcome back to our show New York State Senator John E. Brooks from the 8th Congressional District. He's been in this position since 2016, and he is up for re-election this year in what is now the redesigned 5th District. And, government can't be any more confusing. It better not be. I'm having trouble keeping up now.
Yeah.
How are you, Senator Brooks?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Very good. Very good. Good. And, last time we spoke, we spoke about a lot of nuts and bolts things. And, I always had a problem with, and I remember somebody bringing it up in either Congress or whatever, that, bills should be written so that the average everyday guy could take it out and say, oh, okay, I know what this means now. Because if you ever go against some law and you're standing in front of a judge and you tell him you didn't know, he's going to tell you he doesn't care. Because ignorance is no excuse. And yet some of those things are so convoluted. I get done with them. I'm just stomach sick. I don't even know what this law meant anymore. You unraveled to a good degree the tax thing. Mm-hmm. And, one of the issues we're up against when it comes to that is that most of the people opening their mouths are not educated enough to really give us an idea of just what the heck, how it works. And you did that, and then thank you. I still have, there's still going to be, because it's, I don't know, it's finance and maybe they're just trying to,
Well, what we have to realize is most laws are amendments to procedures, regulations that are put in place. And a lot of it's technical revision. So we're gonna amend section so and so to do this, that, and the other thing. So
you would have had to have read the first law to know how this one.
You'd almost have to be a lawyer to really understand. So what we try to do is we put an overview of most laws that explain the objective of why we're doing whatever we're doing. And then the amendments or changes will apply to certain sections in the law. So in the technical piece, if you will, of the law, to show amend section 7 of the this, that, and the other thing to read this. So you're right. I think, the concept of government is so simple, yet the application of government gets complex and technical. Most people don't understand Benjamin Franklin, when the Constitutional Convention was held, and he was asked what form of government we were going to have, and he said a republic,
right.
if you can keep it. Yeah. And that's where we are right now. It oversimplified, a republic is a form of government in which the governed, us, give the power of those we elect to make the governmental decisions by a majority. Mm-hmm. We could sit here, but I always figure that a majority is one more than half.
Right.
But as we look at the Congress today, the Senate in particular, suddenly you need 60%. So what did we do? We created a situation.
We hamstrung somebody.
Well, we created a situation where suddenly the minority can have control over the majority. That's not good.
Yeah. Right.
The concept of our government was to let the people decide who would govern, and then evaluate them through an elective process. Mm-hmm. And then when you're up for election or re-election, if you don't get 50%, somebody else is filling your shoes.
Right.
We're in a situation now, not the majority of the country doesn't even bother to vote anymore.
Yeah, right.
You go to the voting machine and you see stuff go out 46 rows, not that bad, but 20 some odd rows, with a section, in the case of New York, one section where the judicial races are, both parties are running all the same people, but it takes up 10 rows.
Right.
and then your legislative positions are way down down in the columns, and sometimes people don't even vote for those. And we make it difficult for people to get on the ballot. And the worst thing is the expense associated with running is off the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. You run the state Senate salary now is $110,000, and these campaigns, some of them are in the millions of dollars. What is that?
Yep. I just recently heard it. If you're intending to run for president, we're talking $1 billion or more.
Oh, easily, yeah.
How about publicly funded campaigns? Are you for that, or is there a downside?
The concept, yes, but it's so twisted. It's crazy. What I'd really rather see is a limitation of what can be spent and mandatory debates and other things that the candidates have to participate in. You can run for whatever office you want. If you got enough money, you can go crazy with ads and stuff, and people don't know what you're never involved in a debate. You never have to explain anything. We use buzzwords. It's funny how we go back in history, Lincoln Douglas debates, for example, where there were real exchanges of ideas.
Yeah, for hours.
We don't have that today.
Although I will say, I think in the realm of media that the long-form conversation is coming back. It hadn't been, everything was sound bites and memes, and I think maybe people are realizing that they're not getting a lot from that meme and that sound bite. It doesn't really inform them. No. Now, you brought up a while ago, or just at the beginning, we were talking about Benjamin Franklin, and there were the great biography that Ken Burns did. And one of the things that took me, that really got me, was Franklin called Pennsylvania the Commonwealth. We haven't used that word in a long time. And just from my own memory, Massachusetts was a Commonwealth.
There's several that are Commonwealth.
Right. But that word is unbeknownst to many.
And if you're asking me to explain what it is, I can't.
Well, here's one of the ideas, though. Franklin invented the lightning rod. He never filed for a patent because it was something he gave to the people. He went back to Europe, and at his own expense, he put these lightning rods, because at the time, apparently, a major cause of death was dying in a fire, in a church, in a hospital, and he went around and put them all on those things at his own expense because they were good for people.
Right.
That's an idea that needs to be resurrected.
Well,
because now it's, I'm not doing anything unless where's my,
But we're better than that in many areas. Right now, for example, in New York State, you've got thousands of volunteer firefighters, ambulance people that are doing for others in the time of need. You have companies that are opening up food banks and stuff. It's there. We don't look at it as much as we do. We don't appreciate it really as much as we do. There was a time then that communities really served the purpose of helping everybody else. You did things for your neighbors. You had bond raisings and whatever you might have. We've kind of drifted away from that a little bit, and you look at many corporations; they're all about the dollar, not the people,
and that's usually it.
Yep.
It's not even a little bit of the people and the dollar; only it's just the dollar.
Yeah. So we need to take some steps back, and really recognize that my family actually came here before we were a country. We were in Seaford in the 1600s. There's some evidence earlier.
Oh, wow.
But we came to a place that people thought, I didn't talk to any of the relatives back then, but they came for new opportunities as people do today. My ancestors, the Verities, Southards, Rayners, Bedell family, they were a bunch of baymen. Not too long ago, we were working with some of the local Indians in the area, doing some cleaning of the the Indian burial grounds in the Amityville, Copeg area in there. And I realized when I was talking to them that my ancestors a long time ago talked to them and found out about the bays and where to go and all the rest.
Yeah, wow.
And we were in a situation where we helped one another. Today, we've lost a lot of that. But as a result, we see a lot of the challenges we have. We look at election results and we don't like it, so we're going to throw it over. What took place January 6th, there was an attempt to overthrow the government of the United States.
Well, if I can add, I think it's continuing.
I agree. You know, so what is this country? It's a republic. The republic, in a republic, the majority control. What's happening now is the minority is afraid of the majority.
The tail is wagging the dog.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really, it is scary. It reminds me of, I had the opportunity to interview the rabbi a while ago, and we talked about the bad yeast that makes the whole loaf no good. Yeah. And that's America right now. We spoke before the show, and I mentioned the comedian that talked about the dichotomies of America, and we had the black and white issue, which still continues. And then we have the haves and the have-nots, and that still continues. But the new one is the lies and truth.
Yeah.
We're a country of immigrants that at this point in time hates immigrants. People don't realize that we gather our strengths from those differences. You know, years ago, if I was doing a job on a house or whatever, and a guy needed a tile guy, well, he called his buddy in Italy. Because those were the tile guys. You brought them over. Yeah. And you could see all the different nationalities working on a construction job, and their strengths were what made that thing the best. And now, all of a sudden, that's bad.
Well, you know, I think we have to take some steps back and think about where we were. So going back to when my ancestors came here, there wasn't a country here, you know, right. And people lived off the land or the water or whatever else. Some people had skills and would be a carpenter or whatever to get the work done. But they came here for opportunity. Our founding fathers made that a government basically 150 years later. Could not have imagined where we are today.
No.
You know, you look at the Constitution, and many issues are not addressed at all because we couldn't imagine them existing. Could you imagine Thomas Jefferson working on the Declaration of Independence and then thinking about man on the moon?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, God. No.
But they were brilliant people. And they put a document together that's flexible if we use it right. There are some aspects of the document we need to recognize that it applied to the 1700s, some of the things we were concerned with.
Right.
Technology has changed and the rest, but the concept is still there, a government of, for, and by the people. So you elect people. The founding fathers didn't envision the political way we are today with political parties and the allegiance that people have to the political party. Right. And people saying, well, this party stands for this. Well, they don't stand for anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, Adams and Jefferson apparently in their conversation, Adams did not like a two-party system. He was against it from the beginning, and this is the illustration of why. It took 270 years, I guess, or whatever it is, to get here, although it probably always wasn't that good.
You know, I disagree with you to the extent, because what we did is we made the party more than a thinking tank now. We made it a way of life. This is what you do. This is what we take. If we kept it as a point where you didn't identify as a Republican or a Democrat or whatever party that might be in place.
It'd be an ideal.
The ideal, yes. But now what's happened is, don't talk to that person. He's a Democrat or a Republican. That's insane.
Right.
We are a country of people with different views on different issues, and we have to work together. Mm-hmm. And when you sat there, look at this, the election that we had. States put together false electors.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And
well, as a lawmaker, how do we, I've always said, since it happened, there were 127 lawmakers that signed on to Louis Gohmert's bill in Texas to basically disavow the votes of 5 million Texans.
Yeah.
Why are they still in Congress?
You got me.
What's the penalty for not fulfilling your oath or for obviously going against it? Is there one?
In theory, yes. Okay, you swear to the Constitution. If you're not upholding the Constitution, you should be expelled.
Well, we got a lot of cleaning to do.
Well, we got a Supreme Court that's taking history and suddenly changing the meanings of certain things. Mm-hmm. We've got people with mindsets on stuff. Look, the whole question of females' rights to control her body right now is a big issue. Mm-hmm. But think about that debate was going on, and then we find a 10-year-old child who's raped. And we're in a situation where people are saying, well, she should have to carry. Yep. She's 10 years old. Mm-hmm. What is she going to do? Quit the 6th grade to do it?
I just brought that up with the Republican candidate that I interviewed. He didn't believe it.
He didn't believe what?
That the 10-year-old girl, that even happened.
It happened. We have the individual that caused the problem.
Yeah.
But the scary thing
we know what states it was and where. Yeah.
Okay. The scary thing about that is we wanted to go after that doctor.
Right.
For doing what he's doing.
Procedure.
Look, here's just to use that issue as an example. A woman should have the right to control her body. Yeah. Period. Our obligation in government, because I got into this with some of my relatives, they were complaining about where I was. She should have the right. Government has the obligation, in my mind, to make available medical services so that's done properly. We know through history, particularly when abortions were bad, people would go to any lengths, and people died from that. I'm not advocating everybody have an abortion, but I'm saying if you make a decision, let's make sure it's done under the proper medical conditions. For that 10-year-old to try to do that, you're ruining her life.
Oh, forever. Yeah.
And in a situation where she didn't even know what was happening, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
That's where politics has gone awry. We suddenly think everything fits in a certain column. People don't matter anymore.
Right.
We're in a situation where majority rules. If there's 100 people, a majority is going to be 51, not 60, right, or not 48 and $10. Mm-hmm. That's not how we can do it.
I've brought up with quite a few politicians that idea of okay, so you pass a law, and your intention is for it to deal with some circumstance or some. And I ask all, does anybody look at the idea of unintended consequences to see that, yes, your law may address the issue, but you know what? All of these people over here are going to be disenfranchised. You're going to kill the group in the back room. Is your answer to this law so important that because I don't see this as an example of unintended consequences. I see it as an example of totally intended consequences.
Yeah, well, this particular law is just horrendous, but your point is a good one. When we were addressing the bail situation, for example, for many of us, the primary situations, there were people in jail for extended periods of time that didn't have $250 for bail money that hadn't been before a judge. We had to change that. Now, the people that worked on the technical side of the bill elected to make the qualification chart being driven off charges that were filed, and the bill didn't do what it was supposed to at all, what the idea was. So yes, there are, and sometimes you don't see them initially, and you got to react, and that's why, who thought about unintended consequences? The writers of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, because they said, hey, you can change this if you have to.
Right.
And we can do that. But now we have a Supreme Court, that's changing some things that go back 50, 100 years. All of a sudden, no, we were wrong.
Well, there's another question. What's the penalty for judges that lie at their confirmation hearings? I thought Roe v. Wade was settled law. Isn't that what Amy Barrett said? Settled law.
I guess
was
some of us believe
this looks like a plan.
When we meet our Maker, we're held accountable for our actions.
For some of us, that's not early enough.
I won't disagree with you there. I won't. But we looking at where we are today. There's so much violence. There's so much hatred.
We had the Proud Boys walking in Rockville Center.
Yeah.
We had them in Farmingdale.
Yeah.
And we have some people rooting for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, our Constitution, our belief is you have freedom of speech. But the rule also says you obey the Constitution. And the Constitution provides to us certain rights and privileges that have to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
And when these groups violate those protections, then they should lose the right to do what they're doing here. It is it's scary. The hatred we have is an issue. We have way too many illegal guns out there.
Yeah.
We have many people who shouldn't have the ability to have a weapon, having a weapon. Mm-hmm. We see what happens in these acts with the schools, and it is unbelievable how many of these incidents we have.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a set routine.
Well, the other attack in this country recently is on the school boards.
Yeah.
We only found out by doing the show that the school board could close the meeting, but that means nobody gets to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they left them open. But apparently the people going to speak aren't even in those school districts.
Well, I spent 70 years on the school board in Seaford. It's a lot of work if you do it right.
Mm.
And at times we would have some people come, sometimes with misinformation about stuff. You, for lack of a better word, tolerate that, but you also try to give them the actual facts that are in there. I don't think we want to ever curtail someone's freedom of speech. However,
mm-hmm.
I think truth and accuracy should be a requirement. And if you can show how whatever it is somebody's saying is in fact not factual, that terminates that conversation.
Right. But it's not that simple anymore.
I realize that. I'm
not saying I thought that you think it did.
Yeah.
I could bring all of the weight to bear on whatever fact I was, and just like my previous interview, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fine how do you do it. I did all this work getting all this information for you, and with one wave of the wand, it doesn't exist.
So to a response like I don't believe that.
Yeah.
The voters, part of the selection process should be whether your candidate is open-minded or not.
Mm.
All right? I can have a belief in something. You can come to my office to discuss it, and I should be open-minded. If you're right, maybe I change that belief. You've got to be willing to do that.
I think one of the things that we've lost, and I read it the other day, and I said, this really makes sense, is that one of the components of critical thinking is to entertain the idea that you could possibly be wrong.
Well, you have to.
Oh, yeah, but the evidence is to the contrary.
No, I understand what's going on, but you're right.
That's why the lies truth dichotomy is such a dangerous thing at this point in time.
Yes, it is.
You can't make up your own facts.
Yep. Well, we have people call and ask to come to the office to discuss different issues. In accepting that, you're willing to listen to what they have to say, and maybe there's some credit, if you will.
But see, that should be. I mean, for me, any elected official who's got his door open and says, "Come on in," that just makes me feel good. Yeah. If a guy's hiding behind the door, well, now my mind can go into all kinds of places. Oh, what did he do with this? What's he doing with that? Yeah. It just.
But I think it's I mean, sometimes there are people that the conversation can go on and on. It's going no place with some stuff. But I think you have to listen to people what have to say. Sometimes you can agree with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes, their point in an instance is correct, and that's maybe where we put an exception into a law, but the law itself is at a specific place. And, we try to pass legislation that governs the majority. Sometimes we have to amend bills that say, in this case, thus and so has to take place. But we have to be open-minded in that, and I think we have to be receptive. But the world we're in today, we think politics is black and white. You're a Republican or you're a Democrat. That doesn't work. Yeah. Like I said, the Veterans Committee that I chair in Albany, we run that bipartisan, and stuff gets done.
Can you teach the rest of the guys how to do that?
Everybody knows how to do it. It's in your heart, whether you understand what the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of the United States is telling us.
Right.
And that is that everybody has a voice. They can speak what they want. They have the right to their own beliefs. Mm-hmm. We respect religion, but religion doesn't control government at the same time. And, you have to sit in a situation, and if you're having a vote on a matter, the other side wins, and the other side wins. If you think it's wrong, then you go back to the legislation and write further amendments.
Right.
But the system really works if we want it to.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending the time. And again, we'll do it again. My guest has been New York State Senator John E. Brooks of the 8th Congressional District. He's been in the position since 2016. He's up for re-election this year in what is now the redesigned 5th District. And we didn't even get to gerrymandering.
Yeah.
But thanks for being here, and I hope you can reach out again for more insight. And definitely good luck in the election. The clock on the wall says it's time for this week's Long Island News to get on out of here. Remember to listen every Friday at 3 p.m. right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.